Welcome to Moving Iron with Casey Seymour and Greg Peterson, the podcast for anyone and everyone involved and interested in the business of ag equipment. If you want to understand what trends and market forces are impacting the price of your iron, you've come to the right place. Buckle up, it's time to move some iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. This edition of Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by John Deere. Got Greg Machinery, Pete Peterson. Let's talk what's happening in the world of auctions and all around equipment space. Greg, how you doing today?
Well, I'm doing pretty well, Casey. Fighting the flu a little bit, so I hope I don't cough my head off on the segment here today. But other than that, hey, I feel good.
That's why we're doing a remote, Greg. I didn't want to get the flu. So
Exactly.
Right on, man. Well, we had some stuff pop up today. You talked about it last week. We were kind of working through what we were going to talk about, and then today we talked about it too. You had a high-level auction take place with some pretty good equipment on it.
Yeah, this past Tuesday, April 7th, our friends at Steffes Group, very nice sale out in Tracy, Minnesota, which if you're not familiar, it's in the southwest part of Minnesota. Great farm ground out there. My wife's parents and grandparents, both from Tracy, great community. And this was a sale for Mike and Joe Edwards, retirement sale. And it's one of those deals, Casey, where, again, the premium used equipment really showing through. So
Yeah.
some examples on the sale. They had a 22 model 8R 370 John Deere, 540 hours on it. That sold for $343,000. They had a planter I thought did pretty well, a 23 model John Deere DB60, 24 30 inch, 7,263 acres. That did $327,000. And then the combine was a 19 model S780, 1,435 engine hours, came in at $262,000. And when I thought that seemed a little high for a 7-year-old. So I actually went into our machinerypete.com and I was filtering on S780s, 1,400 plus engine hours. That's actually the highest hard cash auction price, 1,400 plus hour S780 in 32 months. You got to go back to August of 23. Actually, there's another Steffes sale, like a dealer sale out in Williston, North Dakota. But yeah, Mike and Joe Edwards there, they obviously took great care of their equipment. Beautiful line.
Yep. Makes all the difference in the world, right? And we talked about that before we started recording, but right now you're talked about how those machines were falling into the average and what that looked like. And right now, we talked about this earlier, that when you started seeing the really good stuff start to show up in short supply, which I think we're seeing that right now, you start seeing some deviation in the overall averages. And the stuff that does pop up now, that is quote unquote good shape, good quality stuff, looks good, feels good, been well taken care of, well maintained, and you've got the documentation to show all that. It's bringing a premium that's even above of what we talked about earlier in the year. So you're starting to see that take place a little bit.
Yeah, a little premium plus, right?
Yeah.
It's on a sale just like this. And if folks been following along our social media breadcrumb trail of auction reporting, I mean, like that 8120 04 model we saw for 158 about 10 days ago, set a record by 20K. Or just, it was about 10K. But yeah, if you got the stuff, high quality stuff, again, it seems like farmers' mindset is squarely in the used market. And it's thinned out a little bit, particularly the tractor market. I think it was interesting, Casey, on that 8R 370. Again, I mentioned about 343 on Tuesday, 540 hours. I actually looked, average auction price so far this year on an 8R 370 has jumped kind of a massive amount. Average we've got running just over 360, whereas last year it was about 309.5.
Yeah.
And you'd say, well, why the heck is that happening? But I think it's like we've talked about, a little bit of that thinning at the top end. So when these nice units show up at auction, it's just very solid money. I know that same sale Tuesday had a seed tender, 3-year-old J&M LC 390 for $41,500. Thought that was pretty good. Grain trailer, 6-year-old Wilson 41 foot for $42K. But in both those cases, again, if you're looking at those, it's like, well, if you want to buy a new one, a new Wilson 41 foot or an LC 390 seed tender, those numbers have got so big that it can make these premium plus used prices still a relative bargain.
Yeah. Well, you talked about that planter earlier, that DB90 that you're talking, or DB60, right? DB60
Yep.
that you talked about. They came in at 327?
327, yep. 7,263 acres.
That's, now, so you go look it up for a new one, it's going to be six, almost $800,000, $700,000, something like that. So someone's looking at that going like, oh my God, this is a big dip. But of course we don't know how this was set up and how you would set yours up and all those kind of things. But to me, you're coming in there at that 50% mark and for an auction piece with the acres and stuff associated with that I would be happy with that if that went through and I sold it at auction. I think to
Absolutely.
me, I'd be happy at it. Yeah.
There they are, mocking you.
See you next year, loser.
That weedy area that's got you thinking, man, I hate that spot. Wish I'd sprayed better. Get the last laugh with a sprayer upgrade from John Deere. Precision upgrades that can increase your sprayer's performance, like ExactApply, advanced nozzles to give you more control at more speeds. It's just one of the many precision upgrades you'll find at johndeere.com. Now, let's see who's laughing.
Yeah, I think, hard cash, write me a check today. Planters, again, you're moving a fair amount north of 300K there. And everyone has to have their spec just like they want it, which is great. So, again, and then, the thing's 3 years old. So
Right.
it's, I thought that was a real strong price. While we're talking here, I'll see if I can just quickly reference the highest auction price I've ever seen on a planter, just for reference. Well, I might not be able to do this on my phone, but anyway, like you say, the price of new is crazy high, and people can see. You're right; they see that 327 and say, "Oh, that got slaughtered," and it's like, no. What you need to do is we're talking hard cash, write me a check today,
Right.
and that's where if you go into machinerypete.com, click on planners, and just filter by the highest, you're going to see where that stacks up for a 3-year-old unit, and that's strong money.
Yeah, it is. And it sounds like it's getting hammered, but it's not. I mean, all things considered, it's not. I mean, trust me, a guy that's taking a million things to auction, right? This is one of those things where there's differences between the two, right? And I would be happy with that if I saw that sell through there.
Yeah, and I think 262 on that 7-year-old S780, 1,435 engine hours. Again, I mean you're pushing past $250,000, and yeah, new ones cost whatever, but this is 7 years old.
Yeah.
So, and it's not 500 engine hours; it's 1,400 engine hours. So again, 262. Now that was interesting. Right before we hopped on, Casey, I saw that and I was like, wow, that's pretty strong. So I looked. And so far this year, the average auction price on a Deere S780 is tumbling pretty good. I mean, it's down to 220, just under 221. It's down 16.3%. So generally speaking, I think combines and planters are not as across the board as solid as the used tractor market has been with auction pricing. This combine sold really well, and this was the Mike and Joe Edwards, Premium Plus Plus. They took great care of it. And of course, Steffes Group does an awesome job marketing all their sales, no doubt. That helps. But it's just a really interesting market to try and throw your hands around right now. And I know now we're interjecting a whole new wrinkle with the EPA stuff here.
Yeah.
I know you've
So I had a couple conversations with some guys that I know from my days in the dealer world, but I was kind of waiting for this to happen in a way where I was thinking about it from the perspective of the number of machines that I know that have been through the process of being deleted when it was, everyone was flying under the radar doing those things. And then the number of people that I thought would come to the table and do that. So a lot of conversations I've had have been revolving around the amount of machines that are coming back in for trade-in, right? And what does that look like? And that brought up a topic that I think you and I have talked about here. Like, you got two machines sitting next to each other, exactly the same, everything about them is alike. They're both, 2021, 8R370s or whatever, you pick the model. And they're both sitting next to each other. Specs the same, hours the same. This one's been deleted. This one hasn't been deleted. Which one's going to sell first? Well, I got to believe this one that's been deleted is going to sell first, right? And
if you based on what buyers want.
Yeah. So when you start looking at that marketplace, what's that mean for used equipment, right? And how does that transition roll? I think the conversations that I've been having, not only with customers, but with dealers and friends of mine is we're midterm away from having this completely switch back the other direction, right? We start looking at that. So there's some of that's going on in people's mind too. So this topic has got a lot more, a lot more entrenched stuff that is kind of like as you peel back the layers of the onion, you start seeing more and more stuff. And the broadness and the generalness of how the law is written, hey, if I have a deaf problem, I can delete the deaf, right? Well, that could be as simple as I'm not a deaf, right? Because that doesn't outline what the breakdown has to be, right? All it has to do is it says, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically it has to inherently impair the machine, right? So whatever that means, right? That's pretty broad. Right?
That's very, yeah.
That covers a lot of bases, you know what I mean? Yes. So when you start looking your way through that, as these machines start rolling back in and those machines start coming in and out of the place, you're creating two classifications of machines.
Absolutely.
And that's going to have a really dynamic effect on the marketplace.
Is your network, are you picking up vibes? I mean, it's obviously really early in this, but has there been any uptick in traded in units that have been deleted?
Not really. I mean, they're looking at some stuff. The guys I've talked to, they say there's some stuff out there they've looked at, enough to kind of perk up their antenna a little bit and kind of start paying attention to what's going on. But I don't see a whole lot of people like yet, right? So we're
it'll just take time to shake out. Yeah.
I mean, it's only been 30 days that they really finalized this, So well, not even that. It's not even 30 days, but
I'll be really interested on the auction market because what I've noticed the last year and a half, Casey, is that even before the EPA thing, just a little bit more of a comfortability with saying that I deleted this thing in terms of saying it on the sale bill. It used to be like I would get a report and I go, whoa, that tractor sold really high. And then maybe someone on the ground would drop me a note or someone from the auction company or whatever and say, wow, Pete, that thing was deleted. It's like, okay, thanks for telling me. That's important to know.
Yeah.
And now, at least in the short term, has the door been opened to being very upfront with, marketing the fact that I am selling a deleted, whatever, Magnum 290 or whatever. And so that'll be really
to see. If I was selling something at auction, that would be the biggest lettered thing inside my description, deleted.
Neon.
I mean, there'd be like maybe it'd be bigger than the picture, right? I mean, it'd just be this massive like deleted. Because I mean, that's exactly what someone's going to be looking for, right? I mean, You and I've talked about on here for almost 2 years now, a year and a half now anyway, about how pre-def machines are bringing premiums and what that looks like.
Right or wrong, and a lot of people, like that 8120 for 158K 10 days ago, whatever. It doesn't matter if 40% of the people think that's insane. That doesn't mean jack. The only thing that matters is it sold for 158K.
Right.
Now, it's been interesting, and I share a lot of those across our social media, and then people will say, oh, well, I actually have one with less out. Well, what's mine worth? And usually what I do, I'll just respond in the comments with $, $, because I mean, you have what everybody wants, a super conditioned low hour pre-def combine sprayer tractor skid steer. Farmers know it's not a secret. And so now it's just this really unusual situation where we're in right now when it's like, whoa, who would ever thought this could, whether it's a long-term or short-term, be rolled back? And then strategically, if you're a farmer and you're 80 years old and you've got, a lot of farmers have bought a lot of new equipment going back in 21, 2, and 3, and you're thinking of having a sale or just trading it in or selling it outright. Do you delete it? What's that A and B you're talking about? Deleted versus non-deleted. And then what's it cost to delete the whole thing?
Yeah.
But again, I think the answers will trickle in from the auction market where you're like, okay, this thing sold today at X number of hours, was deleted, it brought X. Here's a similar one that was not deleted. And again, farmers, just the market, you vote with your checkbook every day. And sometimes those numbers go up. And if it's other times, they go the other way.
And so we're at that point now where if you start looking at, hey, I want to take stuff to auction, right? And I'm just thinking about having to sell here from my farm or whatever. There's not enough data out there to point to the cost of deleting versus the return on your investment type of thing. My best guess of deleting a piece of equipment, I think on the high end, I mean, this is just what my research on the internet came up with, and I need to spend some time talking to some service managers that I know about this, but it looks to me like it's somewhere around $10,000. Could be as low as 5,000, but somewhere in that range. And do I think that you delete something and you're going to get $1,000 for it because it's deleted, or $30,000 because it's deleted? I have no data to confirm nor deny this. So, but you watch how the other stuff sells, the pre-death stuff, and the way it's been selling, and that's got 2,000 hours on it, which that's a very odd animal out there, right? They're not out there laying around everywhere, but there's a reason why that 8120 brought $158,000, right? It wasn't necessarily because someone had nostalgia for an 8120, and I sure wish I had an 8120. It was 8120 was a good tractor, right? And I've owned them in the past; they were great.
Yep.
This one doesn't have DEF on it. I can tell you that was probably a very big factor in why that machine brought $158,000, right?
Yeah, you bring up a really good point there, Casey. It is hard to document. So my 36 years, and one thing that's been interesting, sometimes people will ask me, hey, Pete, I'm looking at selling this tractor or, combine, whatever. And a lot of farmers, God bless them, have the mindset of when I sell something, I want it to be tip-top A+.
Right.
Because that's, and so they'll spend the money to make it, bring it back, or whatever, however you say it. And then the question is, I'll see on the sale bill, spent $19,528 on this thing last fall. Now, as a seller, my experience has been from talking to people, they maybe hope that 19.5 is straight return, but it just is never. It's not. It's just, you spend $40K on this thing, and I mean, it was a 15-year-old whatever.
Right.
If you're going to do that repair work to make it A+, do it for yourself, because you want to keep it, and you want to roll with it that way. I wouldn't do it from a resale standpoint. I suppose it's like a house.
No, yeah, you can't do it that way.
I'm not going to spend $50K fixing up my family room and then expect to get that $50K. That's not going to happen.
Yeah,
that's what our data would show for 36 years. Now with the DEF, with the deleted, non-deleted, this will be a new wrinkle to it.
The big, I think the big factor there too is the deleted part. Absolutely right. That's going to be a huge factor in that. But you compare an 8120 to what would that equivalent be today? Trying to think about that for a minute here. Probably what, an 8295R or something
keep
like
track
that.
All those deer model numbers.
but if you're looking at how that machine plays out, I mean, there's a significantly difference between not only not being DEF, but all the electrical systems associated with that, and the hydraulic systems, and all those stuff that come with that. That's like another wrinkle.
Yeah, that's a major wrinkle, because that 158 for that 8120, or we can go the same way with Magnums and New Hollands. I mean, same tons of examples, but people like the simpler.
Yeah,
it's not just pre-DEF, pre-tier 4. It's freaking simpler.
Right.
And, not to be a cranky old guy like me, whatever, but it is what it is. And it's what people want. Yeah. So the deleted factor, definitely a strong factor. It'll just be fascinating to start documenting how much a difference it does make, deleted or not deleted.
Yeah. Yeah. And it will. And it's going to be kind of like we talked about, like this is going to be one of those things where, in my career span in this business for as long as it's been, this is going to be a real defining point in time, right? Because say the EPA comes out, new administration comes in, all right, we're done deleting anything from this point back. If you've deleted whatever, you're good. Moving forward, you can't. There could be an entire generation of machines, same year, same make, same model that are deleted, and then there's a group of machines that aren't, and that same make, same year, same make model, everything about the same, and it could dynamically change the values of those machines. Move forward, and I think more so if there's a hard stop that says, "Hey, we're done here, we're nothing moving forward," that changes. I mean, that creates the what's what I'm looking for here, urgency or sense of, well, I better go get that one now because that one's legally able to be deleted, type of thing.
One thing on this road you're going down, that right now, generally speaking, inventory wise, we're so much tighter than we were 2 years ago at this point.
Yep.
If this would have happened 2 years ago, when there was frankly an ocean, then I think we'd have been looking at just a humongously wider swing of values. And now it's tighter. So I don't know if that will. It's just hard to say.
Yep. One thing too about this, I think another thing to pay attention to, Greg, with this new development here we're looking at, a lot of guys might have maybe altering their trade cycle a little bit just because of the biggest problem that any of these equipment have. Where you're talking semi trucks, you're talking combines, right? The DEF issue was a big failure point for just about everything out there. If I can take that off, and I don't have to worry about, I probably need to get ahead of this DEF thing a little bit, and these possible failures that are coming. If I can take that off, that could extend out people's trade cycle. Maybe I might trade, like if they typically trade every 3 years, maybe they go out to 5 years now.
Could be.
And that changes the dynamics of the marketplace as well.
You're right. And currently we're in a situation where, again, I shared that report, I think it was a Wall Street report on vehicles in the U.S. At the highest average age of a vehicle on American roadways was like 12.8 years old.
Yeah.
It was an all-time record. And I read that and I thought, well, bingo, that's exactly what we're seeing with farm equipment. Now, again, there was a lot of new stuff purchased when times were rolling, times were better. But again, we're in this mindset of stretching out my current line, and now we're introducing this thing. One thing I wonder, just spitballing here, and this is the frustration of government. I don't want to get moving iron going down the government commentary path, but you wonder what if EPA could just say, hey, we don't know how the election's coming out, whatever, down the road, but we're going to grandfather this. So from right now until it changes, otherwise, you can do whatever the hell you want with your equipment, delete it, knock yourself out, and then you're okay. You're grandfathered in this period. Now, who knows what politicians will do down the road, and that makes us sit on our hands because we don't have clarity, and it's frustrating as a business owner. But you swirl all this together, and what it makes for is some very interesting individual decisions at the farmer level, and then on the dealer side too. Geez, how do I market this thing? Or I got to make sure I don't sell this for too little,
right?
Or do I lean on this? Hey, we got 2 deleted 5-year-old whatever. It'll just be fascinating to see how it starts to trickle in.
Yep. And my word of advice, if you're going down this path, document. Keep those documents so everyone knows like what happened, when, who did it, how much, when you had it done, all those kind of things. Because just the vindictive nature of politics now, God forbid anyone actually work together and say, you know what, it makes sense. We should keep that going. Out of sight, they just change things for the sake of changing things. So
right
there it is.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe this could be an issue. We can be hopeful. I guess hope is not a strategy, like my dad used to say. But
at least not for very long.
No, but I mean, see, that's the thing. Really, if you get right down to it, it's listening to people, and that's why these auction prices for years, these pre-def numbers have been so strong. And you'd be like, dude, why did you pay $158 for that 8120? And they'll tell you. And it's just right here for so many farmers. They want simpler and less complicated. And that being the case, we all want, farmers want to take care of the land and the air, obviously. We could just hopefully there's some middle ground in there, find a way forward. But otherwise, we're just looking at, just like you say, just this sickening whipsaw that just, it is what it is, but it's kind of childish, isn't it?
Nope. It is. Very much so. Very much so. All right, Greg, good place to stop. Folks want you to come out and speak at their event or come to their auction, whatever. Easiest place to do that is go to shootingpete.com or hit you up on the social pages.
Yeah, exactly. Just reach out, folks, and always fun to hit the trail out there.
Right on. Well, Greg, we appreciate you being on. We'll catch you again next week.
Sounds great, Casey. Have a good one.
All right.
Looking for more accuracy, more productivity from your current planter? Let's get exact with precision upgrades from John Deere. Start with Exact Emerge and get accurate singulation and spacing at 10 miles per hour. Or choose Exact Shot to promote early root growth and cut fertilizer costs. And with Furrow Vision, save time by verifying seed depth right from your cab. Visit johndeere.com/planter upgrades and see why nothing runs like a deer.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week. And remember, Moving Iron is available on Farm Journal's YouTube channel and anywhere podcasts are found. So until next time, let's move some iron.